How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the live stream. We have a great one for you tonight. It's about the Mafia's Cam is going to be on with you. Yeah, I'm going to be hosting the Four Horsemen tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I'm on a little early. They're gonna be coming on at 4 o'clock Eastern time. But I thought I would get on here and get the viewership going before they get on. But yes, Gianni, they will be joining shortly. Salute MobTube, Nick Fazzini. Thanks for tuning in again. Appreciate it. Hey, Don Vito, how you Don? How you Don? You guys like that intro? I told you production value is gonna go up, guys. I'm experimenting with different things. It's gonna be awesome. Okay, a little experiment with an intro screen, a virtual one. Trying to innovate. But yeah, I got a list of questions that I'm gonna be asking them tonight. So hopefully you guys find them interesting. It took me a little bit to think of these, but they should be joining shortly. They have the link already, and around 4 o'clock we should be hosting the Four Horsemen. So that'll be coming soon. How's everybody doing? Is everybody ready? They run a good show over there. Now, hello everybody who's just tuning in. The Four Horsemen will be joining us at 4 p.m. So in about 15-ish minutes. Hopefully, at least that's the scheduled time. But should be jumping on soon. So how's everybody doing? What's new in the mob genre? Anybody got anything interesting? I found a very interesting article about Connecticut mobsters. They're not really talked about as much, right? And I found an article on the Gangster Report written by Scott Bernstein, okay, about the top 15 Connecticut mob murders of all time. So I thought it was interesting because Connecticut's always been kind of like, I guess, like a neutral war zone for the mob, right? Patriarcha is in there, a little bit of Philly, Gambino, Genovese, especially New Haven. Hey, what's up, Gianni? I thought this was on their show having you on. I'm sure I'll be on their show at some point too soon. But tonight, I'm going to be hosting them. I'm going to be asking them some questions. It's not gonna be like an interview, I guess, but I do have questions listed out to kind of moderate the conversation. Hopefully I could relieve Tom for a little bit because he's always the moderator on his show. So hopefully I can relieve him of his duties tonight. Now this is real MobTube, a guy that researches secondary data and has good knowledge and information, not like some other drama tubes that keep calling themselves MobTube. Yeah, Don Vito, I wish I had firsthand information, but that require me to, be in the life, etc. And I don't want to do that. So, the secondhand is the best you're going to get. At least try to make the secondhand information entertaining, bring out different guests, etc. The thumbnail threw me off. Yeah, I'm a perfectionist, so I'm always like changing my thumbnail because one day I'll like it, then the next day I'll hate it. So I'm always changing thumbnails. Hopefully I settle on something too, because it's annoying me too. I'm annoyed by my perfectionism, you could say. But some of these murders were insane. I have the article posted up here. Hey, Pink Veal, welcome back, the legend. What's up about the Mafia? Been waiting on you, bro. San Antonio, Texas, Military City, USA sends blessings and success. Thank you, Pink Veal. We're going to have some success on tonight. Armchair MBA, Brooklyn Guy Vinny, Joe, and JSV Capital should all be coming on. That's at least who I was told was coming on tonight, the normal Four Horsemen group. So And like I said before, I'm going to talk about a little bit of Connecticut for the next 10 minutes or until they hop on. So what do we have here? Worcester. I know Connecticut fairly well. Um, I'm in Connecticut a lot, and I know a lot of these places, and it's interesting driving by those places now, right? And now I read this article. Now it's like, oh shit, a hit happened right there. That's crazy. I drive by there every day. Like it's crazy when you're near it, right? When you're living it and you're near it. Maybe I'll do a video on Connecticut. I think Connecticut's an interesting topic because it's so neutral and everybody wanted a piece of it, and it was like a war zone, or at least that's what they called it. They called it like a neutral war zone. So maybe I'll say that for a little video. That'll be a good one. Yeah, that's primary data, and that's for ex-mobsters in academia. There's primary and secondary research. Indeed, Don Vito. Oh, sweet. Oh, sweet. Me being from Springfield, I've lived in CT some, but up north, I have family in Connecticut. I feel like everybody's got somebody in Connecticut for some reason, especially the Northeast. I feel like, oh, my cousin's in Connecticut. Oh, my uncle's in Connecticut. Because I feel like the New Yorkers, right? They make the money in New York and then they retire either in Florida or they buy a second house in Connecticut. I feel like that's what happens. Someone should do a Springfield one. Yeah, that'd be interesting. Oh, I don't rock with Tom, bro. Sorry. Vinny, my man. Bay 8th is legit. Should have his own show, in my opinion. I'll block Tom out when he talks. Sorry, we all got different opinions. And I'm happy to have all these guys on. I appeared briefly on Vinny's show, just spontaneously. I was in his chat, and he told me to hop on, and we met. Nice guy. Very, very authentic. So, and they have the link. So I don't know. This is my first time inviting guests in with StreamYard. So I don't know if I'm going to get an alert or if I'm going to have to manually add them or they just join in. So I guess we're going to see. If something's not work, they can always just message me in the chat. I know a lot of guys from up here and down in CT. It's mostly Genovese, some Gambino, and I guess Patriarcha. Yeah, it's really an interesting realm in Connecticut. Let's look at some hits here. William Billy the Wild Man Grasso, June 3rd, 1989. Right, all these are going to be 80s and 90s. Connecticut's quiet now. Still here, but it's quiet. On aboutthemafia.com, we just did an article about a Stamford politician was being bribed. A Stamford, Connecticut Democrat was being bribed by an alleged mobster. A guy who owned a Bridgeport club got into some trouble recently. It's hard to remember everything because I'm looking at so much data. It's hard to remember off the top of my head. Maybe I should keep like a written record. You get your show on, then post links to let them join if you use StreamYard. Yeah, I sent them the link earlier in an email, so they should have it because I don't want just random people joining the chat. They should be on soon. Well, yeah. So Grasso, he was 62. He was shot to death on Interstate I-91. Dumped into the banks of Connecticut River in Wethersfield. Wow, you don't hear about Wethersfield a lot. Bill Grasso got hit in a van in Hartford and dumped in the Connecticut River. He was a big Patriarcha guy. Yep, so that was a crazy hit. Gruff and rough around the edges, rose rapidly through the ranks of the Patriarcha clan after developing a close friendship with Providence godfather Raymond Patriarcha, the mob family's namesake. Yeah, so definitely high up, right? That's probably one of the more notable ones in Connecticut. There was also Annunziato. Salvatore Nunziato, who was he was in charge of some financial crime, like financial rackets in Connecticut, for the Genovese family. He lived in East Haven, Connecticut, which East Haven, Connecticut today, actually, I believe, still has top 10 highest Italian populations in the country, I believe. East Haven, Connecticut. I think it's top 10. It's definitely up there, right? I feel like that's right. And that's just my background knowledge. Robbed a series of Grasso's backdoor gambling dens. Okay, so he robbed Grasso's backdoor gambling dens in the months preceding his demise. So there's a beef. So again, Connecticut's a neutral war zone, right? The waters get very muddy when you talk about these neutral zones. How about the boxer? I think he was a Grasso too. Got into a fight with a maid guy in Farmington Ave in Hartford. They found him in a trunk. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Hartford, Connecticut is slept on for top 10 most dangerous cities in the country. Okay, nobody talks about Connecticut. Connecticut, certain cities of Connecticut are dangerous. Bill Stacks will tell you. Okay, Waterbury, Hartford, New Haven. And Hartford was top 10 in homicides a couple years ago, I think. And people laugh when they say, "Oh, I'm from Connecticut," and then they laugh at you because they think you're preppy on your boat in Fairfield County. No, what are you forgetting about Hartford? It's top 10 in homicides. It's absolutely brutal. So don't sleep on Connecticut, guys. What else is another interesting one here? Try to shorten it. Made into the Genovese family shortly. Oh my, these are crazy, right? The way that this article is listed out, again, this is on the Gangster Report by Scott Bernstein. It's like the number 2 guy was whacked by the number 1 guy. The number 3 guy killed the number 2 guy. Just like chronologically in the article. I think that's funny. Bobby Luisi had a crew in Vernon, a town you would never expect. I know Vernon. Bobby Gentile in Manchester just passed away, allegedly connected to the Gardner heist. And now we have Brooklyn guy. Let me add you to the stream.
How are you?
Vinny, how's it going, my friend?
All right. How you doing?
Good. I appreciate you guys coming on to my show for tonight.
Of course. How have you been?
Good. How about yourself? I like the cut.
I'm good. Oh, thanks. Yeah, the other cut was not working.
Yeah, well, whatever, right? Whatever you want to do, right? So I was just talking about Connecticut. I think Connecticut's an interesting subject. Joe, how's it going? Welcome.
There he is.
I'm good, man. How are you?
Good. I appreciate you coming on to my.
Oh, no problem, man.
It's gonna be fun. I was talking with Tom about this for a little while. It'd be fun to host another show on my show and get a little collaboration and channels going together. I was just talking with my viewers a little bit about Connecticut. I think Connecticut's an interesting topic for the mob, but I do have questions laid out to kind of guide a conversation. Hopefully relieve Tom of his moderating duties for a little bit. He's usually the moderator on your show. So
good luck with that.
Yeah. Right.
I'm going to do the best I can.
He'll be interviewing you in no time.
Yeah. Well, actually, back when it was the NBA and the Button Man, I reached out to them to try to get John and Tom on my show. They ended up wanting me on their show first. So they actually interviewed me when it was the NBA and the Button Man. But obviously all those videos are now gone. But I did have John on. He was my first interview.
Oh, really?
I didn't have Tom on. Yeah, I was able to get John as my first interview, which did very well.
Yeah. You from Connecticut?
Around the area, yep.
That where you live now?
Yeah, well, I go to school in Connecticut currently.
Okay.
What, Yale?
No, not Yale. I was not able to get into Yale. I didn't even try. So,
Where is the boss, Tom?
I don't know.
Yeah, I know. If I was late, he'd be rolling his eyes at me.
He does have 2 minutes technically, so
Yeah, okay.
Oh, we're not on yet?
no, we are on. We're live.
Oh.
I've been live for about 15 minutes, kind of just get it going.
Okay.
Talk a little bit about these Connecticut guys.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Cool.
But how's your show been?
Good.
Vinny
good.
has a show.
I have a show, and we have the Four Horsemen, which Joe is involved in, and hopefully he'll have a show. But yeah, it's good. It's a slow rise for my show. It's a slow rise, brick by
It is in
brick.
the beginning.
Yeah, I've been on, I think, 2 months. And I like it, though, because I try to diversify. I talk about a little mental illness, got caught up in the mob genre for a bit, and today went off on my bipolar rant. I'm allowed one for 2 months about some of the content providers that act like fools. But you know what? It's cathartic for me. I like dealing with the comments. Some of them are trolls, but they make me feel stronger to troll, so it's good.
Yeah.
That's good. It is a grind at the beginning.
Yeah.
I kind of got lucky because one of my videos popped off in the beginning.
Right.
But you just got to be consistency is very important, right? And Tom will tell you all this. He's all in the media, right?
What was that? 300,000 views your video had?
It's up to 315,000 views, I think.
Wow.
Really?
Just under.
He'll get there.
That's great.
I guess I did good with the technicalities of it, I guess.
Mhm.
Like the SEO. And Tom will tell you all about it.
Yeah, he's good at that.
It was a very good title. It looked like it was intriguing. But it was just a little video. I shot it off my phone.
Really?
Right. Yeah, I had a little
Something.
phone tripod. I set my phone up and I would press play, talk, and then I would cut it, press play again, lean back, talk. Try to share my screen a little bit, and it just blew up.
That's
But
great.
kind of a bad thing about that is, if you get a video with 315,000 views, they expect a video to be of quality of one that would get 315,000 views, right? Which really wasn't the case. So that's probably where I got all 100% of my hate is on that video, right?
You're almost doomed by your own success.
Right.
That's what happens. Yeah.
When I appeared on your show for a little bit, I said it's kind of like suffering from the success, which comes with it. YouTube is brutal. In this genre, it's 10 times more brutal.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. Like, nobody really knows why. And we just got to block it out. Do what you like.
Right.
Then you ultimately attract viewers that also like what you like because you're putting out that content. Right. And, in the end, that's what will win.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Maybe I
Myself, I'm just been doing this for about 2 weeks now.
You enjoying it?
Yeah. Yep. I really am. Yep. I mean, I enjoy, we have some great listeners, very supportive, cool kids, you know what I mean? And Vinny and Jason and Tom, great guys. So it's like a little social gathering when we, come on. So.
And Joe was such an expert on, I only know really the mob from the New York point of view. I wasn't a mobster or anything, but I dealt with those guys in the gambling genre. And, but Joe knows every city. He knows guys that were buried in an obscurity until they weren't. And he's just such an aficionado on information, which I couldn't even match him. So we all have a very good mix of what we can talk about. You agree, Joe?
Yeah, I always say I'm the jack of all trades, master of none. So.
Well, that's not all, but no, you're a master with that.
Tom, how's it going?
Good. How are you? You're live 22 minutes?
Yeah, I jumped on at 3:40 just to have a little
I love it.
little chat with my kind of get the momentum going.
Good.
I love it. Yeah, so I'm excited to be on. As you know, I'm a big fan of about the Mafia. I'm a big fan of everything that you do, Cam, and we're happy to be here.
Appreciate it. Jason, how's it going, my friend?
My man, how are you?
Good. I appreciate all you guys coming on.
Yeah, I'm excited. Let's rock and roll. Can you guys
Thank
hear me
you for
okay?
having us.
Of course.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Yeah.
We're good.
Yeah,
So hopefully,
because someone's making a lot of noise. I think it's Tom because he's grabbing for stuff. It's Tom, definitely Tom. So put yourself on mute because
He's at Walmart.
Tom decided to break into his lunch hour.
no, I appreciate you getting it done wherever he is. I appreciate that. So hopefully I can relieve Tom of his moderating duties for a little bit, at least. I do have questions laid out to kind of guide the conversation, but of course, you guys talk what you want to talk about, and I'll let it go. What are your backgrounds in the genre? How did you guys get interested? Obviously, Vinny was in the genre. Some others, right, were kind of, I guess what my viewers call it, kind of secondhand creators. How did you guys get interested in the genre to begin with?
Who's going first?
I'll go. I guess I'll go. Then Tom, and then I guess Joe and Vinny would have more of a connection. So I guess we'll start with the lesser of the connection. So I was always fascinated as a kid growing up, and you would hear things from the older family members and my father's friends growing up, and then you got into the movies and all that stuff. And then when I was in my older years as a teen, 19, 20, I started getting involved as far as running for an operation. And I started collecting. I had I guess you call it a package. I had about 10 to 15 players at any given time during the year. And I got a percentage off of that. And I would, at one point, I got screwed over money-wise. The guy that was actually the runner, he didn't pay us. He didn't pay me and my guys. And I gave him like 10 to 15 guys. When he screwed me over, I called the office and I said, listen, the guy didn't pay me. And they were like, oh, really? Well, we'll send somebody down to see you. So I had a meeting with somebody. And I said, listen, I'm not going to go through this guy anymore. I don't trust him anymore. He says, well, listen, how many guys you have? I told him. And then I became the runner. So now here I am driving up to Belleville, the Garden State Parkway at times at gas stations and meeting up with somebody to pay them or for them to pay me. And that went on for a number of years. And then eventually one of the guys went away. And then I just really didn't like, having to owe people because I was responsible for the money. And as you got older, you either grow out of it or you keep doing it. And I grew out of it. So my life went from being interested in it, following it in the movies, hearing about it when I was younger, to actually being a runner. And then my life, that stopped right there when I was in my mid-20s. And now I'm just continuing the history of it because I'm still interested in that life from an outsider point of view. I find it fascinating that, these street guys who have no formal education above 8th grade, some of them really were running companies, construction companies, we're running unions, we're running the longshoreman operation. I was also down in the Jersey port as an operation manager in my younger years, and they were down there still running part of it, right? So I was always fascinated how those guys could, not come from, an Ivy League school or even 4 years of college or 4 years of high school, and were able to run these organizations, And, we also, guys like me in the civilian world, you fall to it's romanticized, right, in the movies, right? The family oriented, the women, the money, right? So being Italian from Jersey, you kind of look to those guys and go, wow, what a life to have. And then as you dig into it, you realize that, the outcome, the end is tragic. Right. But anyway, that's my story. An Italian from Jersey. It's all over the place here. So it's a short story, but story nonetheless.
I literally finished like 2 sandwiches during Jason's answer. All right. So Cam, I have the
And look,
pleasure.
it's not hard
knowing-
for you to finish 2 sandwiches, Tom. Let's be real.
Good
That's
point.
That's true.
Good point.
So Cam is a great guy. I love the fact that he's doing video, and I've had a podcast for about 4 years now, and I would interview a whole bunch of people, different walks of life. I had the pleasure of interviewing like 1 or 2 billionaires. I've interviewed like very important people, actors, and so forth. But then along the way, I found interest in. I always had personal interest in the mob genre. So whenever I interviewed any mobsters, those interviews would do better than, let's say, regular business people. So I think one of my first big gets was Michael Francis in 17. So I kind of fell in love with the genre, got a little deeper with it, hooked up with former inducted member. We had a very long run. We did 100 episodes together, a separate show. When we disbanded the show, I decided to kind of do a hybrid, which is the Armchair MBA and like do business, but also mob stuff. And then, like Vinny came on for like an 8-hour episode. So we like kind of got befriended there. Joe, aka Bay 8, has been a great supporter along the way. He became a friend, and we just started talking. And like, wow, your mob stuff is like second to none in terms of history and also knowing some of the street stuff. And then JSV and the Mohawk, they came on kind of like as a comedy relief. So with that said, that's how the my interest came to play. I just noticed I'm a numbers guy, and I noticed the mob stuff just did a lot better. There was people that had interest in it, and I just looked to satisfy that interest.
Right.
Yep.
What about you, Joe? How'd you get into the genre?
Well, basically living in the area that I grew up in, it's all around, you know what I mean? But when you're a young kid, things happen and you don't understand why it happens. You know what I mean? Like, oh, 2 guys got killed on the street corner, and then no big deal because you're a young kid. You're not worried about that. But then as you get older, just hearing stories from family members or reading a book and certain situations I remember, like I remember when Frankie DeChico's car was blown up. Okay, I was right down the street.
Wow.
Now, when it happened, I had no clue what it was. It sounded like it shook the house, So as time goes on and you get a little older, well, now everybody knows what happened with that situation, So it's like, oh man, I remember that, So I guess also it's just part of the American Italian culture, I mean, it started way back. I mean, it morphed into something completely different. But I think when it started in the early days, I mean, it was probably a good thing. It wasn't really, to extort their own people or whatever. It was to protect their people. So I'm a history guy, and I read a lot. So it's just, fascinating to me because, like, I grew up around these people, and a lot of times you didn't even know who these people were. I mean, these were just old guys sitting on chairs in front of a social club. You're thinking like, they're retired or whatever. So it's pretty interesting to me.
Cam, I want to jump in a second.
I can't hear you, Tom.
Sorry, can you hear me okay?
Yep, I think you were covering the microphone. I think that's why.
Sorry. One of the things I want to point out is, so for example, I think like in New York, right? Like, and Vinny and Joe could speak to this, but like there was like more neighborhoods. So it was kind of like in New York, you kind of like knew who the wise guys were. It was kind of like a status thing. I think Jason could back me up on this. In Jersey, it was a little different. It was more like you didn't know who the wise guys were, and then you found out later as you got older, or if like, they got arrested, or if you had some like like they were in family or whatever. So I think it was like more low key in New Jersey and more like part of the fabric. Whereas I think in New York is a little bit more overt,
For sure. So it'd have a different effect because of that, right? Exactly.
Yeah. And in Jersey, like, when you would find out there was a bust, like it'd be like one town here, And then the other town would be, you got a lot of guys in South Jersey too. So spots are like 30 minutes away. They hang out here. Another spot is another hour away. They hang out over here. North Jersey. I mean, Jersey's not that big for a state, but these guys are all spread out over here. But in New York, it's block after block, like Vinny said.
Right. Now, Vinny, how did you get into the life really briefly? Because you probably said this on other shows and your own show millions of times. Briefly, how did you get attracted to the life, and ultimately, how did you end up getting involved?
I came from Bensonhurst, a couple of blocks from Jimmy, and knew all the wise guys. There's a social club on every block, and moved out of there, and still knew a lot of the people. In the mid '90s, I was on a plane. Always was involved in gambling, but more betting, and met a guy that moved games. We struck up a friendship. On the plane a few months later, I was calling my bookmaker, and he says, "You sound very familiar." He was one of the clerks. And we ended up, he beeped me, we talked, and, "Oh, my God, you're the guy from the plane?" So what happened was we got together. He told me what he did. And he told me that he was hooked up with the Kosher Connection, Billy Walters, which was a big guy, built strip malls in Vegas. My friend had an apartment with 5 clerks. He used to move the hot games, told me they were MIT guys. And I got involved with him. And through him, I started moving the games. And of course, when you're moving games in that, 20,000 a game, some games, some 5, whatever, you meet a lot of people that run offices. They want to know you if you're taking them for a lot of money. And they figure, how are you doing it when all our gamblers lose? And so I met a lot of people through there, and I still knew people through Brooklyn, because a lot of those guys, even here, the main guy was in Brooklyn that ran it or protected them. So I re-engaged with them, and pretty much that's how I got involved. And it was a good run. And then like that, all things come to an end, basically. And it came to an end with an arrest having a social club.
Right. Now, kind of building off of that, this is kind of I guess you call it a hot topic that a lot of people have different opinions about. I have my own opinion. You guys have your own opinions, I'm sure. What or who killed the life, or not killed, or dramatically hurt the life? What or who do you guys think ultimately?
The number one thing that everybody will say, and everybody I think will agree with me, is Rico. When that was established, when that hit, I don't care how famous, John Gotti got, and they say John Gotti ruined the life. Well, yeah, he was walking into the courthouse, shaking hands, smiling, and the cameras were on him. But really, it was Rico and the informant system that really took it down, So they can blame John Gotti for being famous, but he shouldn't have done what he did, but that's what I believe.
All right, well, welcome back, Pink Veal and Gianni. Welcome back. Tom, what do you think? You've talked with a ton of guys. What do you think?
I think my answer will be a little different,
right.
But kind of the same as JSV. So I think a lack of innovation, a lack of not only a lack of innovation. Hope you can hear me okay because I'm in public, but also a lack of adaptation. So, for example, whenever you're playing, war game, chess, or any type of game, whenever something happens, you need to either react or act according to survival or thrive or whatever. So what I mean by lack of innovation, the first thing is they didn't get into new rackets quick enough, like they did in Italy and Russia and other places. Ergo, cyber crimes, cybersecurity, maybe some, eventually cryptocurrency and that kind of stuff. So lack of innovation by sticking with the old, like blocking and tackling rackets, kept them, exposed, and Rico just swept them up, right? The second is lacking adaptation. So when Rico came about, that is just the cause, right? But the effect, that's the effect, is the law and getting arrested. But the cause for the ruination, if you will, is when they said, okay, you know what, we're gonna go ahead and reorganize, right? So you can't have a RICO if you have a decentralized system. RICO is predicated on a centralized system, and the perfect example of that adaptation is Genevieve's family. They operate like terror cells. You know, you might know who maybe your crewmate is, you maybe know who your boss is, but that's about it. So if you have to roll, you're limited on who you can roll on. So I think it's lack of innovation, not getting into the right up-to-date markets and hustles. And then secondly, it was lack of adaptation, especially around RICO.
I like that. And that kind of ties into what my opinion is on this. But I'm going to let Joe and Vinny go first. Joe, what do you think?
RICO had a little bit to do with it. The only thing about RICO that I have a little issue with is Blakely wrote that in 1970, okay? It didn't the prosecutors didn't know how to use it until like 1980 maybe. Giuliani, you know, he was like the conductor with the RICO. Okay, so those guys that were convicted of RICO charges prior to 1990, how many mobsters ratted? Was there a lot? Was there a lot of guys saying, I got a big sentence, I'm jumping? No. Now, they didn't start jumping out the window until later, okay? Because guys like Paul Castellano, Gotti, a true mobster, okay? My grandfather wouldn't give I don't want to say the F word, wouldn't give a F about RICO or jail. This is the life we lead. What I think really hurt it more than anything was drugs. Not selling drugs, guys using drugs. And that really destabilized everything. And, you know, I mean, trust me, my stepdad, drug addict. You go from being a strong man to becoming something completely different. And when you're on drugs, the last place you want to be is in jail. So, and you make bad decisions on drugs, a lot of shit happens. I mean, you know how many people got killed in the neighborhood because they were high and did hit someone or did the wrong thing, things you normally wouldn't do if you were thinking clearly. So that's another reason why I think it went down. And then also, you know, I'm American Italian. My wife's American Italian. My cousins, my brother, they're not with Italians. The neighborhood is like completely mixed now. You know what I mean? Where is there truly Italian neighborhoods where it's a lot, you know, condensed in one area? So that also has something to do with it. You know, I guess splitting the pure Italians apart, basically. You know, I got a nephew that's Italian and half Mexican. Can he get made? You know what I mean? No. So that has something to do with it too.
That's an interesting perspective. So you don't think kind of like the end demise for a mobster is prison. You think more the drug use is the worst possible outcome, right? Because that's the life that they chose. So prison kind of comes with it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I mean, look at in Sicily, right? Is there a lot of, in Italy, Androgeda, is there a lot of turncoats? I mean, I don't know. It doesn't seem like it. No. I'm pretty sure.
But you know, because of RICO, they were able to go after captains and bosses. You know that, right?
Of course. Yes.
Because of RICO. Before RICO, if you ordered somebody to do something, you were able to avoid jail time. When RICO came in, when they had the commission case in 1985, they were going after those bosses because of RICO, because they made the order, you know, that established. So now you have these higher echelon guys going away. They didn't commit the crime. They ordered it. And because of RICO, they go away.
But there's so many guys that from my neighborhood that took a life sentence. I mean, think about it. I mean, think about all the top guys in the neighborhood. Look at Anthony Spiro. What'd he get? How come he didn't flip? Right? He was hit with a RICO charge. I think it has to do with the generation and the use of drugs amongst people in that life. I mean, that's really what I think it is. Partly. Rico might have something to do with it, but if you're a mobster, man, your destiny, you got to know it's jail time. And either you die in the streets or you die in the can. That's it. There's no happy ending.
Right.
So I would say, yeah, but to a true mobster, a life sentence doesn't mean shit.
Exactly.
They just do it. Look at Fat Tony. He wasn't even the boss, and they convicted him as the boss. He had every reason to rat. He wasn't the boss. Was he the boss in 1986?
No, but how fat? I mean, I mean, Fat Tony. He was 80, right? I mean, he weighed his options. My legacy. Would he have done it if he got a RICO case when he was 20 years old? A life sentence? Who knows? But he was 80.
He would have not ratted.
You can't say that. You could.
Because they thought differently.
They did? Well, who was the biggest rat? What happened in 1957? Valachi, right? He was an old timer. He was the first.
Yeah, but that was one of thousands.
Right. Vinny, firsthand account. What do you think being, in the trenches with this?
The government got more forceful. I think in the early days, they really couldn't do much. I think with tech now, I think the labor rackets were looked at more closely. I think the Americanization of the mob, it wasn't full-blooded anymore. You had a lot of other groups around, the Russians, the Iranians. We didn't have that in the 70s. And I think that, lack of qualified guys. I think when it went high tech, listen, any associate, anybody could pick up an envelope, anybody can answer a phone, gambling, drug, leg breaking. When it got high tech, I think you had a lot of the pool got shallow with members that were very capable. And I think a lot of associates that never would have been made 40 years ago became running around with egos. They were young. You didn't get made when you were 30 back in the day. You got a lot of 32-year-old captains now. What the hell do they know? They haven't been in the street for more than 10 years. And I think that a lot of non-capable people ended up going to capable positions and they weren't qualified. And when the tech rose, you had the FBI that rose too. RICO came out. I think it was a perfect storm that ruined the mob, actually. Everything came down on them with high tech. You could listen to a guy from 3 blocks away. You could tap cell phones. You couldn't do that 20 years ago. And people just talking because they got away with it for so long. They felt they had a license, and they found out they didn't.
Right. That was kind of what I was going to say with my point. I think technology had a big part to do with it. I think it was inevitable for
Absolutely.
a hit like this. But more specifically, I just want to speak on the laziness of the current day mobsters, you can say. The most recent Colombo bust been in the news for a few weeks now. I mean, we're on the phones talking. There's no. I get it that you can't always meet in person all the time, right? But there are no preventative steps taken to at least try to defend yourself digitally. And this is what ties into what Tom was saying about adaptation, right? With this technology, people are using the newest iPhone, right? They're using the text app built into the iPhone, easily trackable. What happened to Blackberries, right? And obviously this isn't foolproof, right? But at least you're making an effort, right? What happened to burner phones, right? Peter Tuccio, okay, who's about to get like 10 years for arson or something, like a botched arson.
Imbecile.
Right. John, actually, I interviewed John Panisi on my show, and he was the one who told me this on the interview. Do you know how he got in touch with Merlino?
Okay, go ahead.
He sent him a direct message on Instagram. Now, I don't know I can't speak to the validity of that. This is just what Panisi was telling me.
Right.
That's how he got contact to him because, Joey, social media Don, they called him, right? The social Don.
Right.
So, he loves it. The restaurant he used to have. So what do you guys think about this with like the laziness, lack of adaptation? The kid told on his own father. He posted a picture of his father in the Florida pool, and he turned himself in because he knew he was dead.
Well, here's one thing I want to add: would Joey Merlino rat if he was facing life?
You don't know.
George Borghese, they were facing life. Those guys ain't talking. Okay.
Right.
The thing about this Tuccio, He's got a case pending, okay? He's walking Joey Molino into court. Now, you mean to tell me his uncle, his mother, his father, Joey Molino said, hey, man, if there's pictures of us together, you're effed.
That's the arrogant attitude that's putting everybody together, though. That's
but that was crazy.
That's why they're falling.
That hurt him a lot more than was walking around with Molino, because they really couldn't get Molino, but they could get this kid. They're giving him 10 years for setting a car on fire. Come on.
Cam, you're a tech guy. You know what the first thing I would do?
What?
Every young guy, even a young gangster, knows go to Xbox, go to Call of Duty, set up codes, playing Call of Duty, play any of those games. You could set up meet times. No one would never know.
Right. They do record those now, especially with the PlayStation. They're doing like an hate speech campaign where actually there's somehow recording every party chat. That's what you call it. You call it a party chat when you all join. You're all and your friends. They're actually recording that. And I guess the algorithm is scanning for expletives and racial words and all that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how that would incorporate. That's a very interesting point, though.
You could set times if you have your own code, and they have to prove it. How are they going to break them?
Right, exactly.
Because you think I did this. I don't think they did it with terrorism. That's why they started that shit. But with the Xbox stuff, but there are plenty of media that you can go through with times, and you have different form. They couldn't catch it, or they could, like you said. But I think it'd be a lot better than talking on a cell phone.
Right. I just think when the old timers, when they were kids, they were just built different.
Right.
These kids, they can't go without, dancing on the TikTok and
Mm-hmm.
posting on the Instagram. It's just our culture now. Right.
Yeah.
I think that's where we start to get into trouble. Right. And there's other ways too. Like you could use an encrypted chat. What happened with Encro chat recently, even though that turned out to be not good for what was it? You guys heard of the Encro chat thing?
No.
The encrypted chat?
Yeah.
So supposedly there was a chat. I think it was a software built into a phone, and it was on the black market. If I recall correctly, either the FBI tapped into it or they actually created it themselves and got all of these crime syndicates to get onto it, and they were just dead right off the bat.
Yep.
Right. But there's other stuff like that. Just my problem is nothing's perfect, especially in cybersecurity. Nothing's perfect. The best way for an amateur to protect themselves in the cyber world is to compartmentalize. Right. So I don't see an effort. Right. And I think that's where we get into, big problems. Now, I like to bring this question up a lot with my interview guests, because I think it's an interesting topic. And I think it relates to today somehow. What do you guys think? Do you think the neighborhoods were safer with the mob around, especially like in the trenches, New York?
Yeah.
Right. You think it was safer? Would you guys have any specific thoughts on that?
I would say, yeah, especially where I was from. You really, there was crime in the neighborhood, but it seemed like it was more controlled, And I don't know, we never really locked the door on the block or whatever. I was out till all hours of the night as long as I stayed on my block. If it was a bad area, I don't think my parents or grandparents would have said, hey, you can hang out till 2 a.m. Just make sure you're on the stoop or whatever, so.
There was always that thing where they used to say, where Chin was or whatever, you could walk around the village, an old woman anytime she wasn't getting mugged. Now, that's a blanket statement, but, I think definitely, but you're also looking at there's not a lot of social clubs now. Back then, the neighborhood was safer to begin with. You know what I mean? Now, and the neighborhood also, the people that own the houses that have been there for years, now you have all renters. You don't have that, most of the people own their homes were in the apartment for 30 years if it was a building. Now there's so many transients in and out and in and out. So you don't have that group where you knew the bakery for 30 years, same guy owned it. Who's going to screw with him? If the Don was sending people for bread on Easter morning, you don't have that stuff anymore. Do you agree, Joe, with that neighborhood?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like where I was from, everybody knew each other on the
Right.
block. You know what I mean? So it
Played
was
with
like-
each other since your kids.
exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Now I still have 2 friends that live on Bay 8th. 2 out of like 18. Seriously, they're all in Jersey or Staten Island. And we were always out in the street or at Dyker Park playing football, basketball. We'd be in the street. We play manhunt, all types of games. Every time I drive up the block now, it's like a ghost town. You don't even see people like out in front of their own house. Where did everybody go?
Well, I always thought, and I'm sorry to interrupt everybody. I always thought it's because real estate boomed. You had kids, the parents died who owned those homes, and the kids said, "I'm selling it for $900K. I'll go do my thing. I'll go move somewhere." You didn't have, as soon as those houses started getting life left to kids that had moved to Staten Island and Jersey. You know what it is in New York, the renters laws. You can't get someone out for 18 months if they don't pay the rent. Who the hell wants to go through that garbage? So you figure you sell the house, you're coming up with 800 or 900. This is a different generation. Those kids have kids in school. Good school's 150 for 4 years. And I'll take the money. What the hell do I have to be a landlord for? And I think that's what happened when people started moving out of the neighborhood and dying off. The neighborhoods changed a lot. What do you think, Jay?
You say Joe or Jay?
Jason.
Everybody from New York moved to Jersey.
Right. And what did they do with the houses that were left to them from their parents? Sold them.
Sold them.
They weren't living there. Right.
Everybody said, bye New York, hello New Jersey.
And I think that was a big thing.
Second home in Connecticut.
What do you think, Cam, about that?
Second home in the Jersey Shore.
Yeah.
3 homes. I think personally, actually, this is kind of going to snowball into a question for you guys. Do you think they, because there's this whole thing, I want to take care of my neighborhood safe, keep my neighborhood safe. Do you think it's a matter of they just don't want to anymore, they don't give a shit, or they want to but they just can't? They don't have the resources, they don't have the manpower, they don't have the money to have that kind of control. Do you think it's a question of they want to but they can't, or they just don't give a shit about their neighborhoods anymore? What do you guys think?
Yeah, honestly, I think it's actually like changing back to it, because like my wife on her phone, she has like these apps, and anytime like, someone like sets off a firecracker or, runs a stop sign,
Right.
they're on this chat saying, "Oh, this happened here on this corner. Be out."
The neighborhood, those neighborhood things,
Someone,
those neighborhood apps. Yeah.
Yeah,
I got the
neighborhood
Ring
watch.
camera, the Ring camera doorbell, and someone tried to steal my mail. I mean, it's like getting back to that. My wife is all like into this citizen shit and like Sunset Hill community board fucking chats and stuff like that. It's crazy, man. Every day they're just people talking back and forth. This happened to me, that happened. So I think it's getting back to that more community thing where I live. But, I don't know about other places.
Right. Actually, that Ring doorbell, they actually have an app that's literally just meant for sharing and collaborating on what crimes are going on in the neighborhood. Suspicious person here, and it'll ping the exact location where that activity was. So that's interesting. Vinny and Jason, do you have any thoughts? Looks like Tom's having a little technical difficulties. That's fine. We'll get him back in.
Thoughts on the
mobsters not giving a shit about their neighborhood, or they just can't.
I think because I think they lost interest. Again, I could be wrong. In that world, it's you're one of us, you're one of us. When the neighborhood became more diverse, I think they lost some interest. So
I think the social clubs were a bullseye when they closed the social clubs.
Yeah, they weren't able to have boots on
presence.
the ground per se, right?
Yeah, there was no presence. They're not hanging out there.
Right. They're not in the neighborhood. They're not seeing
Right.
the same, single mother with her kids walk by.
Absolutely.
Look out for that girl. Look out for that old lady. Hey, that guy's a good guy. Don't bother
Mhm.
him.
Yeah.
They couldn't do that anymore.
And I think because they could identify everyone that was hanging out at those social clubs. I think
Right.
when they closed the social clubs, they actually started looking harder at
Right.
who the people were. And when you look hard, you find stuff that you wouldn't have found if you just went to look at the social club. And I think that's what happened. You're right, Jason. Those guys aren't living in those neighborhoods anymore. They're living in a big house in Jersey, like Cam said, Connecticut. So they're not going to drive there just to say hello to the baker. That's exactly it. I agree with you.
Exactly.
Right. Now, I think Tom would be a good starting person for this question because he kind of referred to this earlier. Overseas, personally, I'm more interested in the mob in Italy than I am in the United States. Because my family originates from Naples, so that Camorra, specifically the Camorra, I'm very interested in. The TV show Camorra is the best show ever, so watch it if you haven't watched it already. Tom mentioned something about cryptocurrency. Tom,
What's it showing on right now? Is it showing on HBO Plus?
or
HBO Max.
Max, I mean.
Max. Yep. You could purchase the first 2 seasons on Amazon Prime Video, but 3 and 4 are not available on Prime Video. And season 5 is dropping the 19th in Italy, but it looks like early 2022 it'll be on HBO Max.
I got HBO Max. Okay.
Yeah. So
I'm sorry. Continue.
Yeah. So cryptocurrency, right? Adaptation. Tom, you want to give us a brief insight, real quick, onto what's going on with the crypto scams that they're doing, or what's going on
Yeah,
overseas?
absolutely. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah. Perfect.
Okay. So there was a big bust recently out of Spain, but there's kind of like an area in Spain for some reason. The Italian gangsters from all the 3 to 5 different type of families or organizations go there. I don't know if they, whatever reason they like it. Anyway, so they got tripped up on doing a cryptocurrency scam, and they're doing a lot of phishing scams. Email phishing, text phishing, call phishing, and rolling people up, and then just basically like buying crypto with the ill-gotten gains and making like tens of millions of dollars. And eventually they got tripped up and they got caught. But the truth of the matter is, a lot of the guys that actually got caught weren't like members of the mob, but it was mob controlled and mob profited. So in Italy, like the Camorra, probably more than Dragata of the 3, has gotten really sophisticated in their crimes and bigger money crimes to boot. So that's where like the Italian mob is head over tails or head and shoulders above the American mob, again, in terms of innovation and adaptation.
Right. Vinny, have you heard of anything like this? I guess not cryptocurrency in particular. Did you ever hear of anything when you were on the street and in the life where you heard about something that was going on and you just sat back and say, wow, that's creative, that's innovative?
Not really. It was like 13 years ago, 12 yeyears ago when I was really, 10 years ago with the club, but no, I wasn't into that at that time because these guys weren't. If I would have met people that said, hey, I got a good, scam for you, I would have listened to it. But no, back then, no.
Right. And Tom think that's the problem. Right? There's not enough creativity and adaptation. Joe, Jason, any ideas?
Yeah. I think there's a lot of people just all chasing the same dollar, basically. So it makes it,
yeah.
There's not too much going around. But I think eventually that's going to change because, like younger kids, all they know is cyber shit. So if you're going to be a criminal, you're younger now and you're going to ascend to being a criminal when you get older. It's probably going to have to do with some cyber shit as opposed to some strong arm shit. So.
Right. And I think you are right with that. We need kids to come up with the mindset of this cyber mindset, right? And then get creative. Literally, when I'm laying in bed, because I talk about this lack of adaptation with other people as well. I lay in bed, I come up with scams in my head that can be done online. I mean, 17-year-olds are starting e-commerce brands, right?
Yeah.
And within weeks, they're making thousands of dollars in revenue, right? And so there has to be some sort of creative twist, right? Which there's the barrier to entry to money, I think personally, is less than it's ever been, right? Because of technology. Right?
We talked about this the other day on our show. Well, yeah, we talked about why if there's so many ways to legitly make a dollar nowadays, and a fast dollar with online access, right?
Right.
And Joe and Vinny had a great point by saying, I guess maybe 35 and above or 40 and above, those guys, they don't think that way. They don't think about opening a business. They don't think about going online and e-commerce store. They don't think like that. But the younger generation, 18, their 20s, early 30s. I mean, I think you will see something change in that way where they'll. And nowadays, like, okay, you can run a bookmaking business, or you can open up an e-commerce store. One's legit, one you go to jail. Like, and a 20-year-old kid's gonna go, well, let me see what I can do with this e-commerce store.
Exactly.
1980s, you didn't have that.
No.
Right. Exactly. So that was actually one of my questions on my sheet. I'm glad we got to this. Is it even worth it? It's not. It's not worth it.
I think back in the day, like we always say, back in the day, I think if you came from nothing, you were
Right.
poor, you didn't have an education, and here is this life where you can make money, you can buy your first car, you can actually feed yourself, you can buy it, you can get an apartment. And for somebody who didn't have anything and growing up on the streets, I think that was a realistic way and a real way for them to make a living. It was the only way, maybe, right? Maybe it was the only way to make a dollar, right? Now there are a lot more options, thousands of more options, now. So back in the day, yeah.
And when I was a younger guy, the only one you heard of was Valachi.
Right.
You weren't worried about getting ratted out.
How
many people ratted out?
I will say this though, as time goes on and I get more comfortable sharing things, I'm the proof, because in my teenage years, early 20s, I had nothing, no money. So if I had to get involved in a criminal act, you don't even think twice about the consequences, because you need, you got to live. You know what I mean? If you feel like, hey, I didn't graduate high school, eventually got my GED, but there was only a certain few things I could do to earn money, right? So I would do things that, looking back now, I'm like, I can't believe I did that shit. Like going into a store. I like paying for things now. You know what I mean? I think it's cool that I could go in a store and buy whatever I want now. You know what I mean? But back then, when I didn't have it, I didn't say to myself, oh, man, I'm committing a crime, or I'm stealing something, or doing this. I'm going crazy. I got to go to church. You don't even think about it. You just do it. So.
Also, you don't have the family at that point to worry about. Well, look now, like sometimes you need to be home for your wife to do certain things. You couldn't be in a bar all night making your money. You have to be on the street to make money. You're not making money back then from your phone. You had to be actually a presence.
People.
Right.
Hard times make hard people.
Absolutely right.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point. I think personally, I think the best feeling in the world is being able to sustain yourself financially. Right, walking into a store, walking into a mall, walking into the, it doesn't have to be designer or your favorite store. Buy that sweatshirt you want, buy that clothes. I think that was one of the big appeals back then, right? But now
nobody had shit.
Right, exactly.
And this is a little off top, but because this is way earlier than your time. I remember John Lennon said, one little different story, but John Lennon said, he came back and he said, I walked into a store, put my credit card, bought it. I did it. It felt great that no one did it for me, that I had that feeling of, I wanted that, I paid for it. Now, his accountant could have paid for it, but the story, like you're saying, is when you do something, it's like, it's me. I didn't depend on anyone. I bought it because I wanted it. I agree with you. I think that's a great point, Joe.
Yep.
Right. So staying on this topic, so this is just kind of something I'm interested with you guys personally. not mob related. Okay, obviously Jace already has this. You guys might have other ventures as well. If money wasn't an issue, what legitimate business would be your favorite, and or which one would you go into? If money wasn't an issue, you have money, you want something to set up recurring revenue, take care of yourself for future retirement, whatever. What would be your favorite business to go to if money was not an issue?
I would like trading, day trading. I actually tried day trading, lost money. It's hard if you don't if you don't have the connections to pull that trade faster than the next guy, and you're trying to beat out these hedge funds and banks. It's really hard to be a small guy, and if you don't have an algorithm or a system. Anyway, I tried it, and if money wasn't an issue, I love the markets. I love just reading about it and getting into it. And I like trading. I would do day trading,
Interesting.
future market stocks, stuff like that. And that would be my gig.
I like David Cameron's bucket list job or whatever. Porn star. I mean, that's great.
That's a good one.
I would go. I worked my one job I had. I was in the hardware business, home improvement, paint. That's something I would like to get in. I would have, if I had money or unlimited money, that's something I will go into. Because a lot of people own houses. I mean, it's like, and it's serious to them, and you're helping people a lot of the time, I mean, they want to fix something in their house or whatever. I just built a ton of relationships in that business. You'd be surprised, gardening stuff. People love that stuff. So that gave me a lot of joy, helping people and being able to, get them in the right direction if they needed something or they weren't sure how to do something. So, and it was a lucrative business too. So yeah, hardware business.
What about you, Vinny?
Probably build a foundation for like people with mental illness, because I think people that are bipolar, like I was, if you're on the mania side, you're a risk taker. I was in stocks. I'm up all night with the Nikkei and everything. It's not good for you. And I would like to try to show people that, hey, there are definitely things out there that you can stay away from or you can handle. Like some people can handle a drink. Some people have to walk by a bar and close their eyes. And I think that a lot of people can be helped. And that's only not being altruistic. It's just because I went through a real hard time. And I think if I wasn't bipolar, honestly, I don't think I would have ever been involved in that club or anything. I think it was the action, the mania, the adulation. You feel good about yourself because you're dealing. And I would like to show people that, you could stay away from that shit. It almost ruined my life by doing it. And I really do believe, because I stayed away from it for years, and I could have. As soon as the bipolar hit in the mid, that's when I got hurt. So I could have got involved at 23. Why didn't I? Because I think when I got ill is when I had you don't look at the repercussions when you're bipolar. I know people that were bipolar mania went to crap table and almost lost a house. I don't think they would have if they weren't that manic. You have no control. You don't think about tomorrow like a kid. You don't think about tomorrow until you're sitting in jail for 30 years. And I would like to show people that staying on your meds, or because now you go away a pretty long time. Now you get involved in something because the government wants you.
Right. Me personally, I'd like Don Vito's idea here. Software company, that's a growing industry, right? That's a great industry. That actually reminded me, cybersecurity is great, but I think my favorite would be like news sites and news companies. I think
Media.
Media,
right?
Yeah. Yep, you call it media. I think just personally, like I'm already doing it, right? I bought about the Mafia, right? And actually, I liked it because for me, it was recession proof. My website actually grew during the pandemic. So I think getting like maybe not like a top news site. Well, money's not an issue. So obviously a top news site would be great, but just having one, that'd be great recurring revenue. If you get into subscriptions, you get into a little bit of YouTube side of it. I think there's just a lot of ways to monetize a news site and a news brand. Maybe like a Newsmax is up and coming for no matter what side you're on, right? Newsmax is up and coming. I don't know any of the other news sites, but I think that would be that's a good investment for me, and I think that's just what I'm interested in as well, writing, right? Writing and creating content, like newsletters as well. So I think a news business or a site is interesting because people are always looking for information, no matter what's going on in the world. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you watch the show Succession, Cam?
What'd you say?
You watched the show Succession on HBO?
No.
You should watch it. It's a media mogul. It's an older guy, and it's about him and who's going to take over the company. It's backstabbing. It's the white collar mafia, I guess you could say.
Interesting.
But anyway, it's called Succession. It's on HBO. They're in the 3rd season, and it's a really good show. And it's about a guy who is a media mogul.
What's called Succession?
Succession. Yep.
Succession. Okay. Cool. So we're kind of reaching the hour mark here. I won't take up too much more of your time. What I am going to say to the viewers, I'm going to let you guys comment to ask any of these guys questions that you may have about Mob. Not relate. You guys okay with that? Ask the viewers some questions. So I'm going to give you guys some time to think of questions, but I'm going to ask a final question before we get into those. What message would you guys say? Because obviously you guys are a prominent part of Four Horsemen, prominent niche in the mob genre on YouTube. I'm asking 2 sub-questions. The first sub-question is, what message do you have to say to the creators in the mob genre? No specifics. Just what do you want to say to, I guess, the creator side of the niche of the mob genre?
Well, I'd like to see, and I thought about this for a while. Actually, that's a question that I talked to Tom about this when he was doing his last show. People want to hear about the action, the operation, the lifestyle. A lot of guys, that's why we're here as viewers, because we want that good fella, feeling, right? We don't want to live the life. We want to hear about it. That's why we watch these movies, right? We want to know how that loan shark operation was working from top to bottom. We want to know how the gambling operation was working, how it got started, what happened when this happened and this happened, when somebody owed you money. We want to know about, robbing the trucks from JFK. We want to know about, the businesses, the legit business they had, and where did the money go then? And how did you pay up to the top, and, kickbacks in the union, how the unions ran, the construction companies, the restaurant stories, right? We want to go into Vegas or AC and blowing money at a craps game or whatever it may be. We want to hear those stories. A lot of guys hold back for some reason on those stories. I don't know if they just don't want it because they have families and they don't want to share that. But a lot of people are interested in that, the lifestyle, the business aspect of it, and people, they should share that because that's what people tune into.
Right.
I guess I'm up.
You're up.
I would say continue with good content. Try to stay away from the BS, especially what's going on now. And make sure you appreciate and acknowledge the people that are in these chats, because what are the Four Horsemen or about the Mafia if we don't have them in it? You know what I mean? We're nothing. So I think that's what people should focus on, as opposed to trying to, knock the next man for doing something. That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
Reinventing the wheel. These guys started a channel, and I'm sure they didn't start out by saying, oh, this is going to be a fighting channel where I go after everybody. Whatever your idea, why reinvent the wheel? Like a major league player comes to the bat, he's 0 for 20, and what got him to the major leagues, he starts screwing with his stance. No, it's a slump. You got here. There's a reason why you got here. Joe would appreciate that. He's a sports guy, and Jason too. And I don't know if you are, Cam, but
yes, Yankees.
Okay, but you started a channel with an idea. If you got subs, your idea was good, and just stick to that. Don't give other people control of your channel and your idea. You're selling out yourself. Stay, because I've seen content and I think all of them are talented in their own way. I believe that. And I think if they just stuck to what they wanted to do originally, you might not have 1,800 views originally, but if you're good, you'll have enough where it'll sustain you and you won't be an idiot.
Yep.
Got it.
Right?
Right. No, I definitely agree. Right. I mean, you have the subscribers you have for a reason, right? You have a good
Right.
Yep.
right? And it goes back to what I said before. Create content that you like, and you'll attract viewers that like what you like, and you'll ultimately resonate best with them. Now, I kind of tackle it from a different angle here. Same thing. What message would you say to the people viewing MobTube? You could talk about the trolls if you want, right? Maybe specifically, what do you say to them? Or maybe just the viewer. What do you say to the viewership? What message you have for them as they go around searching MobTube and taking information at face value? And what do you have to say to the viewers?
If you have a good question, ask it. If you have a nice comment, make it. But the rest of the garbage, stay on the sidelines. That's it. If you want to participate by asking a good question or by making a nice comment, by all means, go ahead and do so. If you don't like the people or the person you're watching, there's no need to get on there and, ruin it for everybody else. Okay. Especially if you are over a certain age and you were a grown adult. It's unfortunate that grown adults act like children and they don't care and they keep doing it. But leave those bad comments to yourself and don't ruin it for everybody else. And if you don't like it, like everybody always says, just turn it off, change the channel. That's
Cam,
it.
that's what I feel, Cam. If you don't like The Sopranos, you're writing to David Chase every day. You suck. I can't stand the show. Thank God you have the button on the computer where you can turn it off. And listen, I'm a firm believer that I think a lot of these trolls are probably good people. I'm sure their parents love them, their kids love, and would say, "Oh, they're the greatest parent in the world." This is what they do. Start your own channel and see how easy it is. But listen, I think there are a lot of respectful trolls that just want to break balls. And that's fine. That's fine. But once you start getting into things where you're attacking people unmercifully for no reason, people that aren't even the channel, maybe a family, it's too much after a while. And I know it's not going to stop. But you know what? Maybe if you're just a little more respectful, maybe if you're a troll and you're going after someone's family member and you think, well, what would it be like if someone talked about my family member? Would I be okay with that? And if you think of it in that terms, I bet you some people would say, maybe I should let up a little. So, yeah, I agree. The trolls are an important part, I think. Listen, Cam, I get strength from them. It backfires for them because I realize, wow, I've really come a long way when I see them. Now, I'm fortunate they don't curse me out and stuff. And if they would, they'd be gone. But I agree with Jason. You know what? Yeah. We love it. You're an interactive part of the show. That's what makes if no one was watching, we'd be nothing. Right. But you know what? You don't have to be an idiot about it. I agree with you, Jay.
And you don't have to and disagree. Yeah, there's a topic. Disagree.
Yeah, or you don't have to watch.
Joe have disagreed 100 times in the last 2 podcasts. We love it. I mean, what the hell? You
Absolutely.
disagree.
We're all friends. Yeah.
Right. You disagree, but you disagree as men and women, and you do it intelligently. You do it respectfully. You disagree, whatever. Right. And like Vinny said, we disagree, but hey, I'll go and have a beer with these people out there in the.
I bet you there are a lot. We would.
I'd have dinner. I'd have beer, but
absolutely.
When you start going under the disagreement stage and start going after people and making comments and oh my God, how disgusting of an individual you must be to get your head into that.
I agree with you. 100%.
Joe,
I would just tell people don't feed into the drama because it's really just BS. Okay. The people that are on here saying they're going to crack people's heads open and do this and do that.
Of course.
I could tell you that ain't happening. Okay.
No.
And because if you want to crack someone's head, you ain't going to say it on the internet. number one. Number two, just, listen to people that you like and don't get caught up in, well, I'm with this guy and he doesn't like this guy, so I can't listen to this guy. Be your own man, be you, and do what you want to do. Don't follow the next man. Thank you. That's it. And thanks for all the support.
Yep. Yeah. All great points here. So now we do have a question from the chat here. If I could just find it, because I just lost it, from Gianni. Do you guys see that when I put it up on the screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah.
Okay. Who is the one mobster you'd want on your side if you got in trouble with, say, Tony Duck's daughter, if he had one circa 1979?
Oh.
Whoever wants to go first.
Galante. In 79. Before he got killed. Because he was that feared, that respected. And if you brought him to the table, no one was, you're okay, I think. Or Chin. Either one.
Chin's a good one.
Yeah. Joe?
Well, since Chin and Galante are taken, I would go with Neil Delacroce.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I knew, the stories that I've read. The stories, yeah, we couldn't go one without saying them.
Yeah, I had to. I'm sorry.
Fat Tony, I heard when he was in Harlem, right? Right, Fat Tony.
I believe so.
Yeah.
People would, just like the old days, and this was in the early 80s and in the late 70s, what time you're talking about. People would come to the social club and go with their problems, and he would fix every, I don't know if it was not every day, but I guess, whenever, Tuesdays and Thursdays, he would be there and everybody would come and stay, he would work out grievances and issues and money, whatever it may be. So he was a big part of solving people's issues. And so I'm going to say Fat Tony, he was a major player.
Respected. Yeah.
What was the name of the social club?
The Palmer Boys Social Club.
Palmer Boys Social Club.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Did you guys know that they misspelled the Bergen hunting fish?
Yeah.
They misspelled it. Yeah. How's that? That shows you why they're getting taken down. That doesn't show you who's out there. Yeah, they misspelled it.
Great.
That pretty much sums it up, huh?
That sums to me, it does.
Wow, that's incredible. Now we do have another question here. If I find it, I'm getting a lot of comments. I think everybody who's tuning in, this is definitely the highest viewership I've had.
What was yours, Cam? Who would you want on your side if you had to go back? Chin.
Yeah. For sure.
Carlo's not bad either. Actually, I just thought of him.
Either one.
He was dead.
But he was dead.
No, 79. Yeah, that's right.
Pay attention, Vinny.
I know.
Wait, could I change mine? I want to go with the Mohawk.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He wasn't even born yet.
Is, right?
He's right in front of us.
You know what the Mohawk is, right?
He wasn't
him a separate. His Mohawk, we've given a separate identity, like he's his own person. That's why we say that. A lot of people don't get it, but because we didn't explain it.
Yeah, definitely. One more question.
Thank you, Joe, for siding with me.
Who's the biggest mobster you've come across?
Oh.
Wait, what was the question? Who's the... Okay, I got it. Mm-hmm.
Me personally, I have never, again, going to letting Joe and Vinny answer last because they have more of a connection than I do. The biggest guy I ever was probably just a cheap runner like me, some guy just collecting from another guy. I never officially met a mobster. I was around them as far as the same restaurant, bar area, nightclub area, guys from Jersey, but people just, hey, listen, this guy over here, he's, and they were famous around our area, but I never personally went up to him, shook hands and had a drink. So I never personally met a wise guy that was, a connected guy.
I met Gotti before he was boss at a dinner, about 8 months before he was a boss. But I partied with Casso one night.
Stop it.
Yeah,
Wow.
I told that story. Yeah, Rendazzo's in the bathroom. My friend introduced me because he used to hang out in a lot of Russian. He had a couple of Russians in Brighton Beach. He used to go to all the time. We're at Rendazzo's. My friend introduces me to him. I said hello. I'm in the bathroom. I open the door. He didn't lock the door. He's doing a bump, and now he remembers that he met me from his friend 15 minutes ago. And I said, yeah, sure. That was the only contact I ever had with him, and that was it. But that was it. And I said to my friend when we left, he goes, oh yeah, he parties. And I said, why does he come in? He goes, well, he knows he used to hang out in Brighton all the time. He knew a couple of Russian guys.
Huh?
Yeah. And,
And
it was all 2 minutes. It wasn't.
what
anything
about
major.
Gotti? Was that 2 minutes too, or was that a?
There was a place, Nicky Holidays on Avenue U. This is before he was the boss. And my friend's uncle was one of his guys, a prominent guy. And we went to meet him. And he introduced, and to be honest with you, I didn't know who the hell he was. This is like maybe June of '85 or something. Didn't know who he was.
Wow.
And he said, sit down and everything. And I said, nah. And my friend says, okay. And then he told me, I tell you what, he had the biggest presence that I've ever met. He could take over a room, like when he was in the room, and he wasn't the boss then. And there were people in the same level. He was a captain. He just stood out. He looked like a movie star. He really did. And, not the classic, but he just stood out, this guy.
Yeah.
And there were people dressed there in suits and stuff, just as good. Well, maybe he was a good looking man, but he just stood out. Like you knew he was in the room and you remembered him 10 years later. Before that, you would have said, oh, there was this guy. I don't remember what he looks like, but he was like a presence. He was a presence, man. He really was.
Interesting.
I thought so.
A lot of people say Joey Merlino is fun to be around.
He looks it. All the social media pics.
He definitely does. Joe, you come into contact with anybody or spoken to or?
I'm going to go with John Conti.
Wow.
Yeah. He was quite the guy. He's in Las Vegas, but he's from Harlem. Old school.
Yeah, those guys were serious up there.
Probably the top. If you go on Google and type in John Conti, Las Vegas, you'll see pictures of him. And believe me, you could look in his eyes and say, like, man, you don't want to F with that guy.
Yeah.
Some people just have that look,
He was,
How'd you meet
running.
him?
He was the top guy in Vegas after Spilatro. So, pretty big deal.
How did you meet him, Joe?
Through a friend of mine that owned a pizzeria, and John used to go in there. So I would be hanging out at the bar there, and then, over time, I just started talking to him. He's from New York. I'm from Brooklyn. He hates people from Brooklyn, but he seemed to like me, so. Yeah, but good guy, man. Like, always gave it to me straight, you know what I mean? Telling me you got to be careful about getting involved. If you want to get involved, it's not going to work out when you get older, so you could take the easy way out now and do what he did. But then when you get older, it becomes the hard way. So,
right.
Because not everybody moves up the ranks and is a boss. You know what I mean? There's guys on the bottom. When you're older, what are you going to do? Go out and baseball bat people? I mean,
Right.
Yeah.
And what family was he with?
Lucchese family. Yeah. Conti, Conti.
Joe, did they have a big presence in Vegas, the Lucchese's?
They had him.
Were they mostly, was that the biggest guy from another family?
There was every family had someone there. Every one of them.
But he was the biggest, I guess, more.
He was the one
real,
I knew. I didn't know the other guys, but I know their names. And he was the top dog.
Okay.
Trust me, when he went out, like Crazy Horse 2, forget it. They would be falling all over themselves trying to take care of them.
Really? Wow.
Yep.
Can I ask you guys a question that you guys probably don't know the answer to? So I guess my answer to that past question would be just the people I've interviewed, right? Panisi, Bobby Luisi. I was set up to have Gene Borello on, who co-hosted with Johnny A-Light, but he went radio silent. I haven't heard anything about him or anything like that. But I guess personally for me in real life, I guess it would be my grandfather's brother, I guess, which I don't know his nickname because we're not that close. But I guess it'd be him, and I can't really elaborate on that. John Gotti came up to him supposedly one time, and when his son was young, his son supposedly worked at it's like give my son a job, whatever that meant in the context. But that was a little family story for that. Now I did have a comment. Billy Bats, how come it just can't be old-fashioned mob talk? Why does it have to be drama? If you want old-fashioned mob talk, subscribe to About the Mafia TV. Hit the like button on this stream. All that's extremely appreciated, the support. Make sure to go to all these other guys' channels as well that I'm having on the show or the channels that they're involved with. Go to subscribe to Vinny. Go check out JSV Capital. Check out Joe. Check out everybody. No more drama. I never had drama. Okay, I'm never going to have drama, okay? This is going to be old-fashioned stuff. So if you want the old-fashioned mob talk, make sure to subscribe. That'd be a big, big help. Appreciate that comment, Billy. Now we have some, I guess the comment they're also answering. And Yellow, also nice. Paul Vario. Carlo Gambino. Neil Del Croce died in 1985, yep. About the Mafia. We could all answer this question. What are your favorite Mafia books? My favorite one that I read was For the Sins of My Father. Now, I was on the younger side. I was in mid-teens when I read that book. So I don't remember what it was about, but it was about a true story. And it was written in the perspective of the son, who's not really affiliated with the life, but the father is. And basically, this perspective on how having a father who's in the life affects the family. Right? It was a depressing book. It was.
Yeah.
But it really puts into perspective. Have you guys ever read any books?
I liked Sammy's when it first came out because that was the first book really to describe everything. So it was like stories that you might have heard but didn't know about really because there wasn't the internet back then. And yeah, I thought it was really interesting because like, wow. And that this guy was an underboss, you know. This isn't just like a street player. This guy is a guy that was real.
Yeah,
probably him.
2 books I like is Murder Machine about Roy DeMeo and Mobster with John Gotti. That book.
I liked The Underboss. That was really good. A book that nobody talks about, The Last Don, about Joe Messina. That was good.
Yeah.
And then I liked Gotti's autobiography.
Yeah, there's a lot of good books in the genre that I think people miss a lot. But yeah, for that, I also when I bought the site, some guy sent me a book actually for free. He wanted me to promote it on the site, but I only read a little bit of it, claiming to know what happened with Jimmy Hoffa, or it was like an opinion or a take.
Anthony Raimondi, is that the guy? He said he knows. He said he knew who did it.
I have it. I have the book downstairs. I don't remember the author's name.
Yeah, he killed the Pope too.
There's a lot of theories, man.
Do you think there's anyone alive right now that
knows
who did it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotta be.
Other than John A-Light?
I wasn't even talking about it.
No, I'm saying he knows. I think he said it in one of his books too.
He claims he knows.
I think so.
I think he did it.
Franzese does too. He said he's on one of.
No, he does. Yeah, that's what I meant. I got them confused. Franzese says he knows about it. Yep, and maybe he would.
He might.
Sonny Franzese is his old
somewhere
man.
very wet.
What?
Video. He said he's somewhere very wet in the video.
Mm,
Yeah, the ocean.
Well, I would think Sonny Francis would be one of the guys that could know, and he's gone. So yeah, he might have told him.
But here's what I would add. What would be the one way that they could never find you ever again?
Acid.
If they put you in water, you could eventually float to the top. Okay? But if they cremated you,
Acid.
you're a
something
pack
like
of
that,
cigarettes, basically.
Absolutely.
So, you know what I mean? So, so I would think someone high profile like that, they're not going to take a chance, man.
I don't believe the water. I don't believe the water
Yeah.
at all. Not
Yeah.
at all.
I know they used to put guys into the car compactors, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? When they
Mhm.
bring it up to like a
Yeah,
soda
yeah,
can
yeah,
size.
yeah.
That's another one. So I think it was more something towards that.
And back then they weren't worrying about DNA.
Yep. No.
So they
in the
wouldn't. They would.
70s.
So it's not like blood around. They wouldn't think about DNA.
Yeah.
Right. Definitely. Yeah. And I love talking about the conspiracy theories too. Who killed JFK, guys? The mob killed JFK?
I think they would give him permission to do it.
You think so? For the gambling debts or for another reason?
JFK.
Yeah.
No, JFK because of everything that was going on. The guy was sharing a girlfriend with the mob boss in Chicago. Then on top of that, the mob boss for New Orleans. They were trying to get him out of the country, right? What do you call it when you get out of the country? What do you call it?
Extradition.
Extradite the mob boss from New Orleans. Him not back, or the brother not backing up, or not going after the mob after the mob got him into office.
Well,
right?
I think that was a lot of it.
Well, no, but here you go. Let's just stockpile a bunch of things where the mob was involved. His old man was a bootlegger, got millions of dollars. Now he was thinking he was better. He told him, help me get my son in, right? You know,
Yeah.
Frank Sinatra was involved here, you know, and now they're looking at.
That makes sense. I mean, you know,
I'll
I
take
think
you-
it's more than one entity that did it. Because, like, I think the mafia might have had a hand in it, but
Yeah.
he was, I mean, wasn't he pushing? I wasn't around, but wasn't he pushing for civil rights back then? I mean, there were certain things that he was doing that a lot of people in the South, man, they weren't with that
I
shit.
thought Lyndon B. Johnson knew about it too. Honestly, I think it was because who comes in and then starts changing everything? The president gets killed, and you start changing everything,
Yep.
right?
And then they killed his brother too. I mean, I don't know. Wasn't
Right,
that Sirhan or whatever the hell his name was
Yeah.
that killed him? So, yeah.
Definitely. Joe, you want to answer Gianni real quick? Do you see the question?
I did answer in the comments. Yeah, I lived there in the mid 90s for a few years, and my brother lives out there. And I have a lot of friends that I still talk to this day that live out there. So I'm tied to Las Vegas. Yep.
And
My brother's coming back in 2 weeks. He'll be here. So
Right.
might have to let him loose on someone.
And if you read any of these books, Albert DeMeo. Oh yes, that's right.
That was a good book. Yep.
That's right.
My Father's Sins. Yep.
Right.
Sins of My Father. Yep.
That's the one I read. Roy DeMeo's son's book, I believe. I believe that was the one I read.
You
Crazy.
never read Murder Machine? Oh, read that book. Seriously, you could
Yeah.
probably get it on Kindle or whatever, but it's really good.
Book ideas.
Yeah. That really was like one of the first books that I really, was like, wow. I mean, crazy shit in that book.
Joe Bonanno's book as well. Albert DeMeo. Mark thinks Mafia killed JFK. Kim thinks Franzese knows. I didn't hear anyone mention Blood and Honor, which was George Anastasia's.
Oh, that's a great book too.
He knows his stuff about Philly. He knows his stuff. Heavy.
Yeah, but sometimes yes and no, man. Because sometimes I hear him say some stupid shit. Not as much him as Schratweiser. some of the shit he
Oh,
does,
right.
man.
Yeah.
His
Right.
partner, you know.
Right. Okay. Hoffa's in a barrel at the bottom of the Great Lakes. He never got shipped anywhere.
All right.
Okay.
Everybody knows where they're at.
Everybody knows.
Where he's at. Everybody knows.
Small.
Everybody knows. Everybody knows.
They've put guys in barrels before, and you know what they did? They found those people in the barrels. That's why I don't think that happened that way.
Cremated. Detroit and a small piece of Genevieve's Jersey crew got Hoffa. I mean, it's just like,
I will go with that.
I don't know. It's just,
I heard one guy talk about it on a he's the guy from Detroit. I forget his name.
Scott Bernstein?
Maybe. He wears a backwards hat all the time. I don't know. Anyway, he says, listen.
Oh, the dude Gunner.
Gunner, yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, they're not going to take guys from New York, ship them over here to Detroit to do a job. I mean, maybe it happened, but this was a high-profile guy that wasn't meeting with anybody. He didn't know. He didn't trust anybody. He was very paranoid. So it was guys from Detroit, guys that he trusted. They whacked him, and they either cremated his body or they made sure they did something with it where he could never be found.
Especially at that time, he was paranoid. Look what was going on a couple of days
And let me ask you
before.
something.
He wasn't meeting anyone.
Why does it matter anymore? Why does it matter? Why is it? Where's Hoffa?
Yeah.
Who cares? Who cares? We're like, why does it matter?
Entertainment now.
If he's in the ground, he's cremated, or in the ocean, what does it matter?
Well, everybody's got the inside scoop, so you know they got to get it out.
Well, you're not going to fly the body, so you drove 12 hours
Right.
with a barrel.
Right. And then people think he's in New Jersey or New York. Yeah, they took his dead body and dragged it across 12 states to put it in New Jersey and New York. Come on, really?
No, absolutely not. And it looks like, according to Tommy Agro, that's what Franzi's theory was, which I didn't hear about.
Imagine he was found in Jersey. What would that do to the people in Jersey? I want him in Idaho. I'd want him in South Dakota. You want bring him back to Brooklyn and dump him in the street.
He's under the cement on Bay 8th Street.
Probably the most watched area for organized crime. Let's bring him to the most watched and viewed area of organized crime. That's a great idea. Yeah. The most recent one was the Georgia golf course, right? With the lawyer was talking. That was
crazy.
I don't know. People are just pulling stuff out of their ass, I think.
That was another thing when I was a kid. On Bay 7th and 86th Street, there's a mobile station. I watched the FBI dig up the whole fucking gas station. Someone said there were bodies under there, a couple of doors down from the 19th hole. Like, me and my friends watched them with excavators. We're like, what the fuck are they doing? It stayed like that for a month. It was crazy.
Scary. The candy store that I worked in Bay 25th, they came in and took the floors apart because of the Lufthansa, because Angelo Zeppi, who was Shorty Spiro's nephew, was involved in that. And they came, they locked the door. I wasn't working that day. And they took the floors up, the basement, everything.
Yep. Yeah, my dad had to pay fucking this guy, Anthony Frez. He was saying, my old man. And when he said to me, he's like, yeah, I told him to go F himself. What are you going to do? He says, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go get a fucking bulldozer. I'm going to drive it through the front of the place. Started paying him $100 a week.
Kim, yes. The Mohawk is with Jason. They're sitting together.
Excellent. Great show. Gianni, thank you. You've been a supporter since day one. I appreciate you. And Gianni's around. He's on all the channels, right? I'm sure he's hopped into your show, Vinny.
Yeah, Gianni's good. Yep.
Yeah, good guy.
A lot of these guys, I see a couple that I don't really know, but most of them are,
Cam,
they're all cool, man.
I have to run. I have to get to Jersey. I have an interview at 8 o'clock.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it, man. Of course. I'd love to have you on our show.
And what about us? We got to go too.
Yeah, I got to call at 5:30.
Yeah, but you're
to
20
meet these
minutes
guys at 6.
Yeah,
I'm 2 hours.
I think this is a good time to wrap up. So guys, I appreciate you coming on. We'll definitely do this again. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
If you ever want to talk, just mob topics, get away from the mob tube stuff. If you just want to talk about stuff like this, I can come up with more questions. I'd be more than happy to have you guys on.
Oh,
And same
thank
thing.
you.
Excellent.
Back to you guys. If you guys are looking for a guest, either on Vinny
Yes,
Sharp, NBA, whatever,
absolutely.
I'd be more than happy to come on. And if you're looking for somebody to talk about like mob stuff,
Absolutely.
it'd be a pleasure.
Tom
Thank you
has
so
your
much.
email, I presume, right?
Yes.
So I'll get it I'll send you mine, and then I'm sure the guys will too.
Yes.
And you could definitely come on, that would be great.
Thank you, Cam.
Of course. And
Thank
Talk to you soon, my friend.
you also type it
Thanks, Cam.
Bye-bye.
Have a good one. See you guys in a little bit.
All right.
Have a good
to you
night.
guys soon. Thanks
Yep.
for coming on.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. The 4 horsemen, which most of it was the 3 horsemen, but in the beginning it was the 4 horsemen. I appreciate Tom, even though it looked like he was busy. I appreciate him coming on and making do of the situation. Mafia stories will live on forever. I know there's going to be more and more theories as life goes on. That's for sure. Hoff was abducted by aliens. Do you know what? That's what I was thinking this whole time, right? Aliens took him, right? So everybody, I'm gonna run. I'm gonna get off too before I pass out from not eating dinner yet. Father Time, appreciate you sticking through and promoting me in the chat as well. Gianni, appreciate your support. Tommy, appreciate it. If you guys haven't subscribed and you want to see just content like this and more content like this, please hit the subscribe button. That'd be tremendous, tremendous support for me, and it's greatly appreciated. Nick Fazzini, thank you, sir. Gianni, of course, you saw it. I'm going to get more shows. I'm better with people, and I'm better live. Love a show with no BS. No BS here, guys. Notice how I don't have any trolls in my chat. Not one. Not one. Why is that? Great show. Thank you. Peace, guys. All right. Again, I appreciate you guys tuning in. All right. And I will see you all soon. Thanks for watching.